Thank you, Mr. Chairman. President Thomas, members of the Executive Committee, delegates, honored guests, brothers and sisters, friends. My trade name is Richard Rinehart Jr. I am Haida, my Haida family is from Kasayan. Tlingit Haida, Joani Kaknakle yo hatu asak, Yechna Hatsati, Kiksade hat, Gagan hit, Dach hat, Tietan Yaki hat, Shitkin Kwan hat, Gunshish Hoho, Hawa Hadis, Hawa. I had part of my speech and introduction here. I think Will just gave it, so I was going to say something a little different. It's very good to be back here in Juneau and in Southeast Alaska. As you know, I live in Washington. I do get up to Alaska almost monthly, but coming back into Juneau today, it just felt really good landing, driving in, and seeing the clouds kind of drifting up the mountains, hitting the, they're catching on the trees. And then I know so many of you personally and individually, and it feels really good to be here amongst you.
Do you have a presentation?
I do. Fred's going to help me get my presentation up here.
What did you give it to them?
I did. It's on. Rayanne told me it was on there somewhere.
Oops. Is it this?
That's it. Yes. That looks like it. How do we get it on the screen?
She's working on it, I think. And you know how to start this?
Mm-mm.
Me neither. Slideshow.
Excuse the technology for just a moment, please. So I'll tell you a little bit about what Tlingit Haida Tribal Business Corporation is. That wasn't actually part of my speech, but it's probably important to know. So it's a Section 17 tribal business corporation that is separate and apart from Central Council Tlingit Haida Indian Tribe of Alaska, but has really virtually all the same powers of a tribe of sovereign immunity, taxation, etc. It is separate in that it's ran by a board of directors. The board of directors are Richard Peterson is the chair, President Thomas is a board member, Chairman Micklin is a board member, and Morgan Howard is a board member. There's one vacant board position currently. The purpose of the Tribal Business Corporation is quite simple, I believe. It's that we have, and you'll see it as part of my presentation, and it's something I think we all know, we have declining revenues from federal programs coming for several years to come, and at the same time we have more needs. I mean, we could think of good uses for funding for a long time to come. And so it's to find a way to supplement revenues from the other sources that we currently have by adding new sources of revenue for our tribal programs. I'm not sure if my presentation is going to come up, so maybe we will just go ahead and get started. What we're looking at is we're trying to start a small business corporation from startup with little capital and try to minimize the risks. And the area that we will most likely start will be in minority preference programs. And you've seen this in a number of your, like in Sealaska Corporation, some of your village corporations, you see other corporations and tribal entities have done Small Business Administration 8A programs. That's one type that we're looking at. I'm looking for opportunities that can also work with state MBE programs and with U.S. Department of Transportation DBE programs and National Minority and Supplier Diversity Council certification programs, which they are basically large corporations like Procter & Gamble or a Microsoft or Boeing that want to do business with minority-owned companies. All of these various certification programs provide us a strategic marketing advantage that set us apart from other companies. They get us a foot in the door, so to speak, and an audience at the top level. And like I said, a number of you are probably familiar with companies like that. It's nothing new. Some people may suggest that we're a little late to the game. I think there's still a lot of opportunity. However, within that opportunity, there's a lot of risks. And some of those risks are very obvious. It's the federal government is in a situation where we've had budget sequestration, and we know coming for the future that there's going to be declining military spending. We're moving out of the war in Afghanistan and Iraq, and we are in a trend where we know the Department of Defense, which has been a lot of contracting with ANCs or Alaska Native Corporation businesses, that they'll be in a declining revenue pattern. So we can kind of plan for that, however, by diversifying our offering among some of those other businesses I was saying, not just the federal government, not just DOD, and within the federal government, we can pick programs that are more likely to expand and grow while others are shrinking. So we can look at, or is the presentation just not going to happen, is it?
Let's see, which slide are you on?
I am on, how do we work this in? Whoops. No. Okay, so we'll go without PowerPoint. This is fine. I had a really great PowerPoint, sorry about that. Anyway, we can, oh, there we go. What do you know? So here were some of the industry overview that I went through real quickly. So next, once we find all the types of businesses that we're thinking about going into, we set some parameters and guidelines on what we wanted to, oops, it moved along on me. Of what kind of businesses we wanted to go into. We looked at service-based businesses because service-based businesses tend to be more profitable than companies that construct, I don't know why it's moving on me, companies that construct things and have products and inventory, and then are looking for opportunities to joint venture and for teaming, and we are looking to identify businesses that will be least affected by budget cuts and recession, and seeking businesses that can go out across multiple business lines so that they can appeal to U.S. government, they can appeal to state agencies, and they can appeal to Fortune 500 companies and have multiple customers. And then finally, we want companies that we can expand using an adjacency move, which is the next slide it keeps trying to go to. An adjacency expansion strategy is one where you move in to a new product or a new territory or a new customer by just staying in the same line of business. So that would be the type of growth we're looking for. This thing is really crazy. I'm not sure what's going on. Sorry about this. One of the things that we will have, though, is there's a lot of competition out there. And I look at the competition, and some of those are named up here, and many of them you would recognize as corporations that are pretty well known, large Alaska Native regional corporations, some very successful village corporations, and some successful tribal enterprises. We would be trying to replicate some of the things that these tribal enterprises have done in our business plan. So where do we start? We start by looking for businesses, and we do we go out and look for deals that we can get into and various businesses we can get into. And one of the things we'll do is we'll have a lot of them to look at, and we'll boil them down and go through a due diligence process to try to find the the ones that meet our criteria the best. Joint ventures and teaming is something I mentioned earlier, and that goes along with our theme here of holding each other up, and also a theme that I know that they have at Sealaska, and it's like one of our tribal themes of Wuching and working together. And we would want to be working together with working together, and when we talk about working together, we could work with some of those other tribes, we could work with some of those other ANCs, and we could work with others, but to me, it makes the most sense if we work together with close to home. So we would be talking with, or we already have started talking with Sealaska Corporation. I was in the room, in the Sealaska boardroom, when then President Martin signed the MOA with Sealaska Corporation between Tlingit Haida and Sealaska. And I've spoke with Chris McNeil. I think Chris will mention this in his presentation, that Sealaska is willing and wants to work with us and willing to partner with us. I've been speaking with people at Gold Belt Corporation. Gold Belt, same thing. They want to work with us and will be willing to partner with us. And also, Fred made an introduction for me. Cape Fox is also very interested. So we have our close allies, and I think it's really interesting that we can work together where we could have people that are from, say, here in Juneau that are members of Gold Belt, that are Sealaska shareholders, and of course their Tlingit Haida tribal members are all one and the same person, and they can all work together, and that is part of the strategy. One of the things as a tribal entity that we can use is there's new rules in SBA 8A where they can no longer transfer jobs within their related companies. Well, we can play the role of a trusted facilitator rather than go out and find like one of the tribal entities in the lower 48 or one of the big ANCs from up north. I think our companies would have more faith and more trust in their own people. So which services and products are we considering? I took a look at our prior experience, which our prior experience is very important because you have to have that to be able to qualify for various types of business enterprises. And then considering all the parameters and guidelines we spoke about earlier, things that like we want it to be a service-based business, we want it to have joint venture opportunities, and we want to do the adjacency expansion, all those kind of things. Considering those and then looking towards the future of what agencies and which companies would be the ones that have the most opportunity, considering all those competitors, we kind of looked at everything we had and came up with a group of possibilities. We have within Tlingit Haida, through the vocational training center, the possibility to get into training and education services. There are a lot of opportunities. I think when I last looked it up, there was about 2,400 job opportunities with the federal government in the last 12 months. We know that some of these companies that we profiled have training subsidiaries, and we know that some of these potential teaming partners are interested in training programs, and some of these are quite large. They're very large contracts, and this is an area that we could qualify and start up a company. Real estate and property management is another area. The tribe has real estate property management experience, and that is something that could also be leveraged. Thinking about things that are recession-proof and that have use throughout is there's always buildings. So even when they're cutting back, the federal government still has all the federal buildings that need to be taken care of, and a number of other like housing programs for various departments of the government, and there's a lot of opportunity within real estate property management as another area. Two other areas, and I only show the IT services here, but we came across another one. The government will continue to, and not just the government, but large corporations will always continue to try to automate and streamline. And so anything in IT space that is going to automate processes is going to continue to grow in the future. The area that I think is a great one is cybersecurity. It needs a lot of analysis because everybody else thinks that too. And then the fourth one that we came across more recent was energy service companies, and these are companies that take and try to save energy, and they're not just federal programs, although the federal government, there's a number of executive orders. These energy service companies have $5 billion contracts, and there's about 20 of them across the country that have these contracts to save energy for the federal government. But beyond that, just commercial companies in every city on a large building will go in and analyze ways to save energy, and they kind of plan it out. If they change their lighting, if they change their insulation, if they change their heating, that they can recoup that cost. And there's a lot of money in energy services. So the rest of it I have in the presentation, but I think I'm running over my time because of the technical difficulties. I was going to talk about how we would operate our businesses, and I'm not sure how I move this thing. And then also, finally, how we would manage risk. We for operating businesses, I guess I'll go through it real quick. We like to, I believe businesses should plan everything. Everything should have a plan. It should be set out and put on a piece of paper and discussed, and it should be goal-oriented so that everybody knows where we're going and we have something to measure ourselves by. Systems-driven means that we find ways to systemize everything that we do, use best practices, so that there's a method to running the businesses successfully is what I'm after. And I don't know where the IT guy went, but I can't seem to make this thing go to the last slide. Oh, there we go. I got it. So to kind of conclude here, we have set up an implementation schedule. So I don't know if you can see it, but some of this stuff was draft a business plan. That was back in February. Presented to the Tlingit Haida Tribal Business Corporation Board. That was at the end of February. To have a business plan and budget presented to them, that was in March. I've done all those things as the consultant to the Tribal Business Corporation, and then we're today, or actually we're a day ahead, presenting it to all of you, the Tribal Assembly, so that you see what we're up to, what we're thinking about, what we're planning on doing. The rest of it is, as we move ahead, to go out and finalize a strategy, find companies and opportunities that are available, seek partnerships and put those together throughout this year with the goal to be in business next year. It's not quick. It's not something that we'll do overnight, but we're trying to do it right. We want to give it our best shot and not have a lot of mistakes. So we are doing a lot of planning up front. And it's also shown, that we'd go into a couple more businesses in 2015 and then another one in 2016. Done right, this can start. I think it'll take a while to start up, but in a very short period of time, in 3 to 5 years, we could start seeing some real revenues out of it if we stay consistent at it. We hire good people and we use our talents the best we can. Thank you.